I'm Jackie.
And I'm Ashley. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's a whole throwback to a whole thing this whole week in my house. It's been really funny. Anyways, but that is not what we're talking about today.
That's not what we're talking about today. I don't think.
No, it might come up again. We'll see.
It might come up. But what we're talking about is
Water signs.
Yes.
So much good energy.
So much. There's so much to unpack.
There really is. But before we do that,
I'm going to have some actual water and...
Oh, I meant the card pull.
I also needed water.
You can drink water too.
I'm allowed? Okay, good.
Because it's water signs.
Water signs. That's the only reason I'm allowed. I'm allowed water.
That's right. Because it's water signs.
Because it's water sign. Should I choose the card since I'm
sure.
a water sign?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why not?
This is the
Oh, yeah.
Oracle of Mystical Moments deck. Yes.
Ooh, we love this one.
We do, and I do, and it's nice. It goes with our color scheme on the front. The cards have this kind of pretty, like, tile pattern on the back.
Mm-hmm. They're very
and they're all so
ethereal.
beautiful. Yes.
They're beautiful.
The illustrations are so lovely. All right.
Lovely.
What catches your fancy?
Well, let's go with this one. Queen Bee.
I feel like we've gotten that before.
I feel like we have gotten Queen Bee. I recognize the art on the card.
I always get the same freaking cards.
I know.
Man, I'm like just looking at the rest of. I'm not mad at the card we
so
got,
many.
but I'm like, oh my gosh.
And how many
We've
times
gotten
have we
any of
shuffled this
these?
deck? Like a million times.
A million. Sea Witch. We could have gotten that.
Yeah, we did not. I don't think we've ever gotten that.
Weaving Flowers. Oops, dropping stuff. Night Ride. Sleeping Beauty.
We've gotten
that
one.
before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this one's upside
A couple
down. Red
times,
Garden.
Red Garden we've gotten to.
Yeah, Liberty. Mermaid's Love.
We've never gotten that. That one was cool.
The Art of Seduction.
Oh my.
I know. I love this. But anyways, what we have is Queen Bee.
Queen Bee.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's always appropriate.
It is.
Yeah. She's lovely.
She is lovely. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I don't even feel like saying anything about it.
It's powerful. It's, yeah. I don't know. Cool.
Yeah. I like it.
I'm going to put her right here.
Okay. She'll stay
just hang
there.
out right there.
Okay.
All right.
So we're doing this little series. We did fire signs.
You did.
And now we're doing water signs.
Yeah, watch Fire Signs if you haven't. That was a good episode.
It was. It was good. And again, it feels good to be back.
It does.
All right. So water sign, very different energy than fire sign energy.
Very different.
Right?
It automatically, I do this because that's what it feels like. It's like fire sign energy was like very like this.
Yeah.
And water sign energy just feels very like that.
Yes. And I think that's where, so these, fire, water, earth, air, these are called the elements. Mm-hmm. And the whole zodiac of 12 is broken down in the four of those. So there's 3 signs under each element. Mm-hmm. And I think the easiest way to start to understand the qualities that are present in the signs is literally to think about the element itself.
Yeah, to think about it. What it looks like, what it acts like, all that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So what does water do? Mm-hmm. What is it for? How does it feel? Mm-hmm. How does it make us feel? Like the literal thing of water. Mm-hmm. It's necessary for life. It's life-giving. It's nurturing.
It is.
It's calming.
It's calming.
It doesn't mean it's always calming. It can also be quite loud and, scary.
Destructive.
But as all of the elements have, they're, productive and less productive versions. But in general, I think, water is more of a calming presence a lot of the time.
A lot of the time, yes.
Water is very cyclical. Like, I always remember seeing in school, like in science little books, like this little diagram of the rain falling, and then it goes into the earth and into like reservoirs or lakes, and then it evaporates back up, and then that's the clouds, and then it comes back down like the rain. It's like that cycle.
That little cycle.
Yes.
I know. It's always like so cool to see. And the clouds are always really cute, and you see the little raindrops. I know. I like that too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, water is, it's it's such a unique element in all the different ways that it presents and shows itself, and the ways that it's available in small ways and big ways, and really, really deep and really, really vast, but then also just kind of like basic water in a glass.
Right.
You know, like just all the different ways that it shows up. It's really interesting in that way. And yes, the calming, the purifying, the cleansing aspect of it.
Right.
And it's like a flowy, and you can see that sometimes, but you can't always see the way that it's flowing or the way that it's moving.
Yes, but water also naturally occurs in many different forms. It naturally occurs as a liquid. It naturally occurs as a solid, or like ice or snow. It naturally occurs in that like evaporation, steam kind of gas form. So it's very variable.
Yes.
And all of it is natural, and we see the way that that's all distributed differently when we do break down the 3 different signs that are water signs.
Yes. And it's an element that is absolutely necessary to life and to sustaining life. And in all its forms. And so that's a really interesting aspect of water as well. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. You're interacting with it on a daily basis.
Yes, and what is that? I don't know. The Earth is like 2/3 or 3/4 water on its surface.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's everywhere. It's necessary. It really is variable. What are the water signs?
Well, like you said, we have 3 of them. So there is Cancer.
Yep.
There is Scorpio, and which might be surprising to people, and there is Pisces.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think another kind of factor of the water signs that also links these 3 together is every sign is symbolized by, a glyph or some kind of symbol or an animal, whatever. I guess the glyph is its own thing, so that's kind of separate. I just mean like the symbol, like Cancer is a crab, Scorpio is a scorpion, and Pisces is those kind of like 2 fish that you see.
Yeah.
But all of those creatures are silent creatures.
Oh, that's a really good point.
And that is a way that we can start to understand sort of like the inwardness of the water signs, as opposed just to say to the fire signs, which are all very extroverted, kind of outwardly demonstrative.
Yes.
The water signs are not so much.
They're not. I've never thought about it like that. That's interesting. I obviously, I've thought about in terms of we use night and day energy, which is something that Jackie has kind of started using, and then that's made more sense to us. But you might encounter it as yin and yang, or that kind of binary.
Yeah, or feminine and masculine is what was
masculine.
really used a lot historically, but we are, and a lot of astrologers are actually trying to get away from those gender binaries.
Yeah, it just, and it doesn't encapsulate it very well at all either way. So the water signs are that very night energy, as opposed to the fire signs that are all day energy.
Yes, exactly. And so, but what does that mean? That night energy? It's intuitive.
Yes.
It's receptive. It's that more traditional, what was called feminine energy. And I think it's in that sense, it's quieter, and it's kind of more working on the inside and really powerful and getting things done there first. Doesn't mean they don't take action, obviously, but they're not leading with action that.
Yeah, on the surface. Yeah, you're not seeing, or at least you're not seeing that. It might be happening really under the surface, or it might be happening sort of inside the shell or inside there, and you're not seeing it right away.
Yes, and I think water signs also, all 3 share this quality of hidden or deep aspects.
Yeah.
And I think every sign has its own depth, don't get me wrong.
Totally,
and
absolutely.
Could even be hidden in certain ways. But I think those words very specifically apply to the water signs. And again, thinking back to the actual element of water as it plays out in nature, I think that becomes really clear that water can be very, very deep. We don't know what's under there. Can't see it. There's a lot that's happening,
Which is a little terrifying.
It could definitely be a little scary.
Yes, it can. I'm low-key, really terrified of the ocean and everything that's under there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a topic for a different day. Maybe we'll do another cryptids episode. Talk about what potentially could be under there.
It is unknown.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't want to know.
I know.
Anyways.
But I think that is also, especially, okay, so if we start to think about the signs, the three signs that exist here as water signs, I would like to go in order from the beginning to the end. But I also just have to say, when we get to Pisces, shit wildin'. It's just out there.
It almost feels like you're talking about something else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it very much does.
We'll
get there.
Let's start with Cancer.
Let's start with Cancer.
Cancer is the first water sign if you start at the beginning of the zodiac.
Right.
It's a cardinal sign because it starts off a season. Interestingly, fire and water are the two elements that each have their first sign as a cardinal sign.
Oh, yeah.
And their second sign is a fixed, their third is mutable.
Yeah.
The other two elements, which we will discuss more in depth later, start off with different modalities first, which I just think is interesting.
That is interesting.
Fire and water seem to flow a little more naturally throughout the zodiac, in my opinion, when I look at all of these factors.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so Cancer is the cardinal water sign.
Yes, it's kicking things off. It's the first time we're sort of seeing that, emotion show up in the astrological wheel.
Right.
And it's kind of, in that way, getting its footing a little bit, I think, with sort of dipping its toe into those waters. It feels that way. But very, very in touch and very sensitive and very empathetic and all of those things. I mean, Cancer's ruled by the moon. So, and as such, can really kind of ebb and flow pretty naturally.
Yes, and I think when people think of someone that's a Cancer, they think of someone who's really emotional.
Yeah.
And obviously that comes with its pluses and minuses.
It does.
The sensitivity, the emotionality, I think is obviously a strength, but it in this society is sometimes judged as a weakness, especially on the socialized gender of that person. So it can be really hard to be a Cancer in this very, especially with the moon, that very, nurturing, quote unquote, mothering kind of energy that exists.
Yeah.
If you're a person who is non-binary, or if you're a person who is masculine, it can be even more challenging.
It can. People have a lot of judgment about emotions that show up like this, because obviously we understand that emotions are emotions and that there's no hierarchy to them.
And there's no gender to them.
There's no gender to them or anything like that. But
Yeah.
we're socialized to think otherwise, and we're socialized to label some things as being emotional and other things as being assertive. That's
logical.
Or logical. And those are just euphemisms that have been applied, which just mean emotion or emotional. It's all the same. It should not be a slur, but we understand that it is used that way. Yeah, and particularly with people that, quote unquote, should or shouldn't be demonstrating these emotions. And it is unfortunate, because I feel like Cancers, there's already a cautiousness to the energy.
Yes.
And that contributes more to that.
Absolutely. And I think it is really hard to be a sensitive person at all in this world. Yes. And especially when you're the kind of sensitive that a Cancer is. It's their heart is just on their sleeve, and they can be wounded so easily, and they feel everything with so much depth and sincerity.
Yeah. They do.
And that can be really challenging. I think on the more maybe lighter side of that, and I have two daughters who are both Cancer risings, and one is also a Cancer sun. So God bless her, my poor sweet little baby. But both of my girls, when you meet them, they come off in this very, very, very sweet, very friendly, very welcoming kind of way for the most part. The one that I said is also a Cancer sun. She also has an Aquarius moon. That's a whole thing we could get into at some other time. So sometimes her energy is a little bit different, but they both are just very welcoming and sweet.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. And I think I have a few Cancers in my life as well, and I usually get along with them very well. And I think they come off very sweet and very welcoming. I think they are such good readers of energy. They're good readers of the room. They are, I saw like a TikTok the other day with like a group of students who were lined up to take a picture for prom, and they looked so cute. And there was like one of the people in the group, a girl, who was in the back, and she kind of wasn't really in the picture. She was sort of like off to the side. It looked like she was kind of awkward about like where to fit into, you know,
the group. Yeah.
Yeah, like she didn't really have anyone to stand by, sort of awkward. And then one of the girls like noticed it immediately and kind of just like linked her arm with her and moved completely and just rearranged so that everything looked good and that she was included. And that's Cancer energy. Yeah. That's Cancer energy. She saw her. And it's no shade to the others and not, you know, like, oh, they're rude or they're this or that. No,
that's not what it's about.
It's not about that. It just wouldn't be surprising to me if this girl had Cancer placements or was a Cancer sun or Cancer rising, because they just notice those things. They feel it, and they understand that other people feel it.
Yes. And because, like what you're saying, because they feel it, they will recognize it in others.
Yes.
Even if others are trying to hide it or are less comfortable with it, like they'll still notice that. But because of that nurturing energy, they're not going to be calling it out in some way. They're just going to like gently move in and like take care of that person. Like, it's so sweet.
It's really lovely. It's really lovely, and it's really necessary. I think along with, though, like to your point too, along with that ability, there is like the nature of water is to like absorb itself into its surroundings as well.
That is true.
And to absorb other things sort of into it, right?
That is very true. Yes.
Yeah. And I think Cancer especially exhibits this out of all of them.
Which means you got to watch out. You got to be careful who and what you're absorbing.
And they are not always careful.
No, because they're so sweet.
They're protective, and they are the kings and queens of how could not everybody see this way? How could not everybody know or understand this? This is breaking my heart, or this is and they genuinely can't understand.
Yeah, and I think that does also speak to Cancer being the first of the water signs. Yeah. It's not that it's immature. It's just that it retains or still has more of that like almost naivete where they're like, why can't everyone just be sensitive and welcoming and understanding and everything? Yeah. And it's like, they're not. And that can be like a heartbreak over and over again for those people.
And I know, and they'll learn, obviously, but there's that aspect of like it still hurts somewhere in there. It's that struggle, that emotional pain. They take things very personally, and not like, oh, they're just so sensitive, taking things personally all the time. That's not what I mean. It's just that they can't separate. Like, they don't understand how you couldn't take something personally. Like, how could someone operate in a realm where they don't take things personally?
Yes, because everything is personal to them.
It's all personal.
They're like, how are you so impersonal? Yeah. You know, that's their complaint. Is like, how is everyone else so impersonal?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, it doesn't make sense to them. They just don't understand.
So, but I love Cancer energy. And obviously, like I said, both my daughters are Cancer risings. I didn't know that when I gave birth to them. Like, it's not like I planned that or knew that was going to be the case. So it has been really interesting. And like we always say, the caveat to any of this is like other placements in your chart really are going to influence how this shows up. Yes. But if you know people who are Cancer sun or you or big three or anywhere in there, you're going to see this energy coming through somehow, some way. Mm-hmm. So, just to be
aware.
Kind of aware of what that is.
Yeah. Just be aware. Be sensitive to them.
Yes, I know.
Don't be
Sweet
mean.
little babies of the zodiac.
Don't be mean. If you're mean, then I'm going to be mean to you, which leads us to...
Well, I was going to say, that's no surprise. No. So the next water sign is Scorpio, which if you don't know, Ashley's a Scorpio sun.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And I feel like Scorpios are really misunderstood.
Totally.
And I think, I don't know. It's like almost a badge of honor to say that like people hate them the most in the zodiac.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few signs that do get kind of like bad reputations, and Scorpio is definitely one of them. Also, it's earned in some ways. There are a lot of rotten ways that Scorpios can be, and they'll be really loud about it too, unlike other signs which are like sneakily awful.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But Scorpios will be really obviously awful if they're being awful, which they're not always being awful. You know what I mean? Right?
But totally. Or sneakily awful in the worst way.
Well, they can be sneaky too, so I shouldn't say it like that.
Yeah, it can be both. It can be all of it. It can be really toxic. Can be really toxic. People usually, that's why I said in the beginning, like, people usually, if you haven't done a lot with astrology, you don't know a whole lot, or you haven't delved into it a lot, it's almost always the misidentified sign in terms of the elements. People always think Scorpio is a fire sign.
Well, and I think the root of that, though, is if we look at the planets that are associated, like we said, the moon goes with Cancer. Just to skip ahead, Neptune goes with Pluto. I mean, Neptune goes with Pisces. But the planet for I'm getting all my stuff jumbled up. The planet for Scorpio is Pluto, but traditionally it was Mars. Which Mars is the sign goes with Aries. Exactly. Mars is that really like, so it's always been, I think, this mixed bag.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, trust me, like Scorpio feels that too. Like it does feel like a mixed bag. In fact, if you are one and you're learning about that, it's probably surprising to you. It's not just surprising to other people. It's probably surprising to you. I mean, I sort of remember learning that like as a kid and being like, really? It's water? Like, how is that? You know, like, how does that make sense? And when you delve into it, it does make sense. But at first, like, it's a little bit like, huh? And I think Scorpios feel that way. There's a lot going on. It's a water sign, but it's a fixed water sign.
Right. Which for water being this like naturally flowing, generally liquid kind of thing, staying fixed is kind of a tough, combination.
Yeah. And like potentially hot take, but I feel like we've said this before. Anytime there's a sign with an element like that and it occurs in a modality that doesn't naturally go with the element, it's a tougher placement.
Totally.
It's a tougher placement.
It happens with other signs as well, but this is definitely one of the ones that it happens in. But see, for me, okay, so Scorpio is all about transformation.
Yeah.
And where I really see that represented with water is that water naturally exists in these three different forms of liquid, ice, and like the gas or like, steam form. Kind of form, the evaporation form, and that whole cycle that I described earlier. That's where I'm like, well, that's Scorpio. It can be these totally different ways that do all naturally exist and coexist. And there's really not a conflict there.
No.
It just kind of seems like it.
Yeah, that's very true. I think sometimes you get hung up on like, okay, fixed, but that doesn't mean, just like it doesn't mean with other fixed signs, that it's just stuck in one spot and that it never moves. That's just impossible for anybody as a human being in general. So Scorpio is all about, it's that 8th house transformation, constant like reevaluation, and the confrontation of darkness and being able to dive into those depths. Like if you get into some conversation like that with the Scorpio, that's exactly where you're going. You're gonna go down. You're gonna go deep. And some people have a hard time with that. But I think that's what makes Scorpio really unique. And in that way is that they can flow with anybody who is going to want to do that, regardless of what your sign is. They're able to match your energy and flow with you as long as you're being authentic to who you are and you're not being shady or weird, because the intuition for Scorpio is off the charts. I mean, it's bordering on psychic. They will know. And if they know, they know. and they might try to convince themselves that they don't, because it's scary.
Well, but I think the other thing with that, which you'll see if you know or you are that person too, is back to like we were saying, how people are socialized and raised. People are raised to not trust their intuition.
Yep.
People are raised to be around people that are weird or unsafe or just not a good fit, and you're forced to do it anyways, and so you become disconnected. Scorpios can have a lot of self-doubt as well because of this. And so getting back to a place of trusting that deep intuition, I think, can be part of the journey for a lot of Scorpios.
Oh my gosh, a lifelong journey.
Yeah, for sure. And like to another point that you were making, just to add on to that, it's not like, and this is true with any of the sign energies that we talk about ever, it's not like Scorpios own the right to go deep on topics.
No.
And they're the only ones that do it or the only ones good at it. The point is, anyone of any sign or any combination that wants to go deep, if you get with the Scorpio, you will be able to do that with them.
You can.
That's really more the point. The point is not, or that Cancers are the only ones that are this sensitive. Like, that's not the point.
No, it's not. Not at all. It's not. Yeah, it's just that, they're comfortable with it. And I think there's like, as much as Scorpio has sort of that mysterious side, or that, issues with trust and bordering on paranoia if they let it get out of control.
And also, not to interrupt you again, I'm sorry, but I feel like because you are the Scorpio, it's like I want to let you talk, but I also want to comment because I always have to feel like I will have to defend you, because I'm like, don't think these things about her,
I know, I do the same thing. It's so funny how we do that.
I know, but I was going to say that I think, Scorpios are mysterious.
Yeah.
And people don't like that.
No, they don't.
Because they want to just be like sizing you up in 2 seconds, and they just can't.
They can't.
And then they're like, well, I don't like that. I don't trust that. And I'm like, you don't trust that?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
She don't trust you either, so don't worry about it.
I feel like she doesn't trust anything ever except for me. So,
Exactly.
Good luck
like,
with
don't
that.
worry. Don't even try. Like, you're good.
you're not gonna be able to do it. So, yeah, it's so true. And again, like you said too, like it can almost be, and I think it's a defense mechanism. It can almost be like a badge of honor at some point for Scorpios to be like, yeah, you thought, like, we do it because of all the times that we're misunderstood, mislabeled, accused of things, and it's like,
yes,
but we're so, if we really are able to get to that place where we hone that trust in ourselves and our own intuition, which again, lifelong journey, but if you can work on that, I mean, it's so powerful, and it does help you to kind of like shed some of that and like let go of some of those trust issues, and and it's important to do so because it really can like consume you. It really can. And I think Scorpios also have a lot of like, I think something that's not talked about with Scorpios a lot too is the passion and the drive. Like with the planetary rulership, there is that darkness and that depth, but they're not these like goths that are just sitting around in like a dark castle just brooding. Like that's not really.
Why not?
I know we can be. I mean, I guess you could be.
Like, I want to do that.
You could be, but like there's this commitment to like we want to champion other people. Like
yes, and that's I think that Scorpio is an interpersonal sign.
Yes,
and so there is this motivation, and with that like drive for transformation to like put that out into relationships, into the world, to like make things a better place, basically.
Yeah, because we love hard, and that's why, like I even said at the end of the Cancer thing, like don't be mean to them because I'll come after you. Like that's such a Scorpio vibe. Like when we care and love and let those walls down and let those guards down, they'll never all come down. But when we let the ones we want come down, that is unbreakable from our end. Unbreakable.
Yeah, and beneficiary of that right here.
I don't care. Like I can't even.
Also, I
describe
don't
it.
want to try her, so that's the other thing.
You don't want to try her, is what I'll say. Because I don't even think of myself. I literally don't, and that's such a Scorpio trait too. Like, I don't even think of that in terms of me. Like, I think of it in terms of the people around me, that, like, that's who I'm giving to. Like, what you don't want to do is you don't want to try them, because that's when you'll get that stinger that you won't see. You try me all day long, I don't care. But That, no.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Well, but also don't do it because...
Don't do it.
Just don't.
Just don't. Just don't. Why would you? No. Why would you?
You're such a sweetheart.
We love, like, we do, right? And we want to, like,
want
champion,
to.
like, your little freak flag, fly it with us. Like, we love that stuff.
Totally.
We are so, like, passionate and, like, sensual, sexual, all that. Yes, you get that. You
Everything.
get that. So, like that and be good.
Yeah, just stay in your lane.
Just stay where you need to. Don't go over there.
That's so perfect.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, whatever.
I'm like, I don't even know how to wrap that up or how to segue. Okay,
don't
we're
either.
just gonna do it.
Okay, yeah.
Good Lord. Okay, now we have to talk about Pisces.
I know. Oh my gosh.
How
Just
are we
jumping
gonna
into
do
the
this?
deep end. I don't know.
I don't know either. So obviously we've evolved from like, I mean, I feel like the leap from Cancer to Scorpio is big.
Yes.
But then the leap from Scorpio to Pisces is also really big.
It's huge. It's all the way to the end.
It's huge.
It's like jumping from Candyland here, like all the way. You're just like done.
I know.
Yeah.
So we,
Whew.
yeah, Pisces energy is very, very strange.
Yeah, it is. It's unpredictable.
Mutable
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
So it is even more flowy than flowy.
I know. It's
right?
the flowiest of flowy.
Yes. And when I say strange, I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I just mean there's a lot going on. And I think people who are Pisces obviously have a lot in common of the Pisces qualities, but there's so many Pisces qualities, they can appear very, very differently.
I know.
And more so than any other sign, in my opinion, how evolved an individual is
Yeah.
shows up a lot in a Pisces.
Very.
From unevolved to
Yes.
more evolved, like the highest kind of spirituality and like wisdom and connection with ancestors and like that stuff.
Totally.
From that to like some level where people really are just caught in escapism, almost like psychosis or delusion or addiction kind of patterns that are really harmful. So you can see it runs the gamut with
You
Pisces.
really can. It's I like hesitate to use this word because I feel like it's going to sound bad, but I really don't mean it to be bad. It's like heart rending in a way. Like
Yes.
I'm so instantly attracted to Pisces people. Every time I have some kind of like, this is on some other level thing,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm a Pisces. And I'm like, no wonder. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a surprise. It always happens. And you're totally right. You can see, and we've talked about this with Pisces before. We talk about Pisces a lot on Dumb Witch Club. If you're like Dumb Witch Club stans or fans, like we always have like lovely
Yeah.
things to say because we love Pisces. It's like one of our little pet signs. We love them. But yeah, I remember you talking about this one time when we talked about Pisces before, about the flow of the fish and how
Yes.
that can be just so like sort of perfect and symbiotic, and it just does exactly what it's supposed to, and it brings in the new and it sort of processes the old and everything like that. But it very also can become like an Ouroboros type of situation.
Yes.
Where it just is trapped in this thing.
Yes,
And
yes,
you
yes.
watch them spiral like that, and you want to help, and they want to stop doing that, and it's really hard for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And as much as like there are those almost like two extremes that I was describing in that, but there's everything in the middle of that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think most people who are Pisces aren't on either of those ends.
No.
It's not a binary, right?
it's not.
And I think another really amazing quality of Pisces is similar to the other water signs, this ability to just sort of naturally like integrate into their environment.
Yeah.
And just to be so just like part of everything.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And effortlessly. And it's so lovely when you meet someone and like you'll talk to them in a certain way and you just feel like, they have a lot of the same interests, or like, they know a lot of the same things as me. But then like you'll hear them talking to someone else and the same thing's happening over there, but they're talking about totally different things.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, like that person, that Pisces person just has that energy to like draw from the universe to like channel and to like meet whoever is in front of them where they're at.
100%. And they meet them so authentically.
And it's so sincere. It's not this like, oh, let me find something to try to fake connect. No, it's just how they are.
It really is on such a deep level. And I think that's why, like, in the more intense signs, like you and I are intense signs. Like, I think we are drawn so much to their energy.
Because Pisces is super intense.
And they are to us too, because I think they are like, wait, people misunderstand you. And we're like, wait, people misunderstand you. And they're like, yeah. And we're like, yeah. And then it's just like this thing where they're like, you're not weird. You're not too much. You're not this. And you're like, oh my God, they don't think I am.
But then Pisces is like, but I don't want to talk about this ever again.
Yes,
like,
yeah. And they're like, I forgot we talked about that.
Yeah. They're like, well, did we talk about that? I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yes.
Like, but you brought it up. You came up to us and said it. And they're like, mm-mm. Like, okay, cool. No worries.
Yeah. The switch up can be real. The switch up can be real.
But I love it.
I love it too. And they don't mean it in like a negative way. They're on a different plane, man. They really are. They're on this whole other plane. Yeah. And you can kind of like access it, but then they'll be on another one and you're like, where's that now? And you don't, you can't, it's not, you don't know.
But the creativity, the imagination, the kind of like, I said, like spiritual, almost, like tarot, like cards, like reading, like this kind of stuff. All of that is just so rich and beautiful and amazing.
Romantic.
Yes.
I know.
It's such a like gushy energy.
I know, we love it. We have talked about it before, and
it is
really
associated with Neptune, which again, very watery, very like dreamy, very like what's underneath. Just all of it is so symbiotic.
Yeah,
which is supposed to be.
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah, they're just fascinating.
Okay, I was worried about closing on Pisces energy because we're always like picking up the energy, and I was just like, oh my God, we're gonna be everywhere. And now I'm like, oh
no, it feels nice. I know. I mean, I definitely feel that way. I would be curious to see how other people feel. I'm always curious to see who's watching and how other people feel, because I want to know, because I always feel seen with this energy. Yes, sometimes it's a little difficult to navigate, or there's things that pop up, but I almost always just feel so seen by it, and then it expands my mind and my worldview to like it gets me out of like my shell. Yeah. And I really appreciate that as well about it, because I'm definitely not as optimistic or romantically minded as a Pisces can be. So,
and it's interesting you're saying, I know you meant seen like in a holistic way,
yes,
but I think Pisces really do have this like eye contact.
Oh, they do.
This very unique, like they will just gaze like right into your soul, and like again, they don't mean anything by it. It's not anything that they can help. It's just you're just like, oh, you're just like sucked into their eyes, you know.
Yes, and you feel like they're seeing like every other spiritual entity in the room as well. So
I know.
Okay.
And then, but there's also like nothing else in the room. It's like, oh my God,
I know.
It's everything.
It's everything.
I know, but I think overall, water signs. It's beautiful. It's all necessary. All of this energy is necessary. Yes. You probably have some of it somewhere in your chart, even if it's not the main places. But it's water energy is very big, and it's very deep.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot, and we talked about with fire signs, like how to sort of embrace that and like bring balance to that if you are one, or like, because Jackie's a triple fire sign, and like most of her chart is fire, so we were talking about like how do you embrace that, and how do you balance that and everything, and what do you like focus on, and like with water too, like there's those are things you need to think about. And I think about with water, it's handling those emotions, because you're gonna have them, whether they're on the surface or you bury them down deep, or wherever the placements are that you have this water, you are going to have a strong current of emotion, and ignoring it is not a good idea. whatever that means. And I think it's important to have, like we talked about with fire signs too, to have like the people in your life that balance out the elements that you have.
Yes.
Like Jackie and I feel like it's not the classic balance that you'll see prescribed, but we have that balance.
Totally.
And I rely on her in a lot of ways to be sort of that accountability partner to me. Not to say that she does like clinical work on me. That's not a thing. Like that's certainly a thing that anybody should pursue.
Right.
But it's like having those just people that you trust. And that's important as a water sign. Any of them, to have that person or those people that you trust to, I mean, look what she did. She stepped in for me to be like, wait, okay, yeah, but that's not a bad thing. Or wait, why are you framing it like negatively? Like this is this. And it's so important to have that in keeping those emotions in check and having those outlets for yourself to process them.
Absolutely. And I think as any water energy, like you need to learn to be less of a sponge and more of a filter.
Yeah.
Where you gotta let it flow in and flow out again, not just absorb it all. And that goes for any of the water signs, I think. And when I say learn to be that, I'm not exactly sure how you do that. But I think just thinking about that, telling yourself, like, don't be a sponge, be a filter, let it flow through. Like even just suggesting that to yourself, it can help get things moving.
It can. I've never thought about that, and that's going to stick with me for quite a while. I'm going to have to think about that a lot more. But yes, even just focusing on that phrase before you can really internalize it or let that sit with you, because that's going to bring stuff up. But yes, there's ways of doing that.
And like this is not like a clinical show where I'm gonna necessarily and in other episodes sometimes we do go step by step into things about like energy cleansing or different things where that could apply to this, but
totally. But yeah, I mean, even just as simple as like every water sign under the sun is the most creative person. I mean, they're all creative. And if you are sitting here thinking, I'm not, yes, you are. It doesn't necessarily mean just visual arts. It's music, it's makeup, it's fashion, it's being an amazing communicator, writer.
Yeah.
Maybe you like create apps that are, I don't know. There's all kinds of ways of being creative. And I think that's one way to like approach it, because creativity comes so natural to water signs, is like filtering it out in a creative way.
Absolutely. And we all know that like emotion is helpful for creativity, it doesn't want to be out of control, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I just think, you have to surround yourself with the people who appreciate you and love you for who you are and want to help support you as you're maybe learning and growing with yourself, and not just want you to stay the same because it benefits them for you to stay the same.
Yep. It's hard to find those people sometimes. But
they're out there.
They're out there, and you have to let your guard down a little bit to realize that they're there. And if you can, you will. And that's not to say that you're not going to get burned sometimes and things are going to happen. It happens to all of us. But if you can let your guard down a little bit, you will see that people will show up for you, and they'll love these things about you, even if they are quirky, and even if you're like a Pisces that freaks them out. They'll be fascinated by it. Look at how we are. We basically fangirl over all of them.
I know, seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love water energy.
Same.
And, well, obviously.
Same. It's a love-hate, but yeah, same.
No, I mean, obviously, I love it because that's what I meant.
Wow. Thank you, my darling.
But no, this was good. This was a good episode. I feel like we covered a lot. So
same.
I think I drank all my water during this episode.
Look at you go.
So here's to the water signs. Until next time.
Stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and hosted by us, Ashley Sidner
and Jackie Gerard, at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Art direction by Violet Turner. Culture consultant Jane Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. Look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok and Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.